What's up, guys? This is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we are back with another Michigan recruiting report. I was recently on the road in the great state of Texas. We're going to be breaking down 5 key recruits that I saw during my time in the Lone Star State. Before we do, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos, and also subscribe to the Wolverine.com today. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. Get exclusive recruiting information from all our travels, as well as insider information on the team, basketball recruiting, transfer portal, and so much more. And like I said, guys, we are not going to be back doing regular live shows until that first week heading into official visits. So keep it locked in here as we give you intel from our travels. And like I said, I was on the road in the state of Texas and had a chance to see 4-star wide receiver Zion Robinson. We'll start off with him. He has emerged as a top target on the wide receiver board. And the interesting thing about Zion is he picked up an offer from Michigan in the winter. And then after that, contact just dropped off. It was really weird. Like, he got the offer and didn't get contacted by the staff after that. Not exactly sure why. He left Michigan off of his top schools list. Then Michigan really started to pick it up with him in the weeks leading up to their annual spring game. And at that point, Michigan worked itself back into the picture. Robinson made his first visit to Michigan for that spring game. And now the Wolverines are in his Final Four. So just a lot of movement here in recent months. The other schools still in contention for Robinson are TCU, Miami, and Stanford. All those schools all over the place. Stanford out west, TCU in his current state. You have Miami in the southeast, and then you have Michigan in the Midwest. So it doesn't seem like distance is going to be too much of a factor. And the other thing about Robinson is he's not even a native Texan. He just moved there not too long ago. He's actually originally from the state of Ohio and lived there, I believe, until his freshman or sophomore year. So wouldn't have any issue going back to the Midwest. He loves what Michigan has to offer on and off the field. Like I said, he's also considering Stanford. Really smart kid in the classroom. He has quickly built up a good relationship with Ron Bellamy and is still working to build that relationship. His area recruiter, J.B. Brown, is originally from the Mansfield area and has a lot of ties there. So, some good things working in Michigan's favor. I think with Zion, the up and down contact with Michigan is something that's holding the Wolverines back a little bit right now. But I think all of that can get completely ironed out once he makes his official visit. I think all 4 of those schools have a real shot with Zion. Michigan making him a big priority as a true outside receiver, kind of that taller, longer, skinnier type of receiver. He's listed at 6'2", maybe a little closer to 6'3", 160 pounds. He has verified track times. In fact, he ran a sub-11 100 meter as a freshman, so he can definitely go vertically. I think he's a guy that can continue to work on, flexibility, getting in and out of breaks, being a guy that can improve as a route runner, but can definitely take the top off the defense. Definitely long limbed, super athletic, would be a big time target for new Michigan quarterback Bryce Underwood. All right, guys, let's flip over to the offensive line and talk about a 5-star prospect, and that is elite offensive lineman Felix Ojo out of Mansfield Lake Ridge, Michigan, set to receive an official visit from Ojo on June the 6th. He is ranked as the number 3 offensive tackle, number 5 overall recruit in the country, just one of the elite of the elites nationally this cycle. And I love Ojo. I've always been a big fan of his. He's a legit 6'7", 275 pounds. When you look at Ojo, he's a dancing bear. I mean, he's a guy that moves really well for his size, has great feet and athleticism, can continue to add some power and a little bit more weight to his frame, but really not concerned about that, man. He has the length as well. Really smart kid, high football IQ kid. I would take Felix Ojo over Jackson Cantwell, who is expected to get more than $2 million at Miami. I think Ojo's the better prospect there. I think he's the clear better prospect, if we're being completely honest. So if I'm Michigan or if I'm any other school and I really want to spend on NIL for an offensive tackle, I'm spending it on Felix Ojo. I think he's the best guy out there. So where does Michigan stand? I think a lot of it is going to have to do with how much Michigan talks numbers here. Michigan hasn't really given guarantees throughout the offseason. Will they, kind of change approach here with NIL as official visits start? That's the big storyline. So, we'll see. But Michigan is certainly in the mix. Ojo hasn't been on campus for a while, hasn't made a visit to Michigan since last summer. So it's important for the Wolverines to really hit a home run during his time on campus. I think right now, Texas has been considered the leader in this recruitment. Ohio State has picked up a lot of buzz lately. So definitely some stiff competition, but we'll see how the official visit goes. Let's go ahead and stick along the offensive line and talk about another elite prospect, and that is top 100 recruit John Turnine. So this was my second time seeing Turnine live, and it's been a little while. Actually, the interesting thing about Turnine is I saw him when he was, I want to say, going into his sophomore year, so freshman going into sophomore year at the Under Armour Dallas camp. And he didn't have a Michigan offer at the time. And I wrote, hey, this is a kid that Michigan should definitely offer. Fast forward to now, and he's one of Michigan's top overall targets on the offensive line board. It's easy to see why. I think Turntine's extremely athletic. He's a guy that can add weight and be a bully in the interior of the offensive line, but has so much athleticism and has really, really good length for being a guy that's on the shorter side at 6'3". He could even play some offensive tackle and stick there. The other interesting thing about Turnine is when I saw him the first time around, he was closer to 300 pounds. Now he's closer to 260 pounds. So he's really transformed his body. And when you look at him live, he looks like a tackle just because he moves so well, just because he's longer than his height. I mean, if Turnine was 2 inches taller, he'd be right up there with Ojo as a top 10 player nationally. I fully believe that. Right now, he's the number 2 interior offensive lineman and number 43 overall prospect in the country. So still, one of the best guards, probably, the best guard you can get next to Darius Gray this cycle. So with Turnine, it'll be interesting to see, does he add a bunch of weight and get up over 300? Does he try to stick at tackle and be a successful shorter right tackle type? Either way, I mean, like I said, he's an elite prospect, and there's a lot to like about Turnine. Right now, Michigan is in his top group. I would say top 3 right now with Texas and Texas A&M. Tennessee has kind of emerged as that dark horse candidate, is now set to receive an OV. Stanford is hanging around as well. But I think it's Michigan, Texas, and Texas A&M. Texas has long been considered the leader in this recruitment, but I think there are a lot of similarities between John Turnine and last year's signee Ty Haywood. Both are from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Both, had childhood dream schools that they were leans to. Haywood obviously committed to Alabama before flipping to Michigan. Turnine obviously, considered a heavy Texas lean. I think both guys, you saw it with Haywood. Michigan really invested NIL into Ty Haywood. I think if they do the same thing with Turnine, he wouldn't be afraid to spurn the in-state schools and head off to Michigan. So the business side makes sense. If they talk business on his official visit on May 30th, I could easily see John Turnine being the next Ty Haywood, or being the Ty Haywood of this cycle, leaving the home region, leaving the school that's been considered the favorite for a long time, and siding with Michigan. And I mean, Michigan, aside from just the NIL stuff, I mean, Michigan checks a lot of boxes for John. He's genuinely a high character kid. He's also a prospect that is very strong in the classroom. Like I said, also considering Stanford, Michigan offers an elite education, and just fits Michigan's offensive line culture too. I mean, there's a reason Sharon Moore has personally made him a top overall priority. So I like Michigan here. I think they can get it done. They just have to, make it make sense business-wise. All right, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about one of my favorite prospects this cycle, and that is on 300 safety Chase Calubat. So if you look back at last cycle, Lamar Morgan did a fantastic job. Obviously, don't want to take anything away from him, but the one spot he really didn't fill was that taller, longer safety. If you remember, they made Jadon Blair a top overall priority. blaring it up at Notre Dame. Fast forward to this cycle, and I think finding a guy that is in that 6'3" range, that has a lot of length, is one of the biggest priorities on the defensive side of the ball. Chase Calubat definitely fits the bill. 6'3", 180 pounds, super long, super athletic, extremely flexible, guy that has great hips. Start at corner in the 7-on-7 circuit, was a top performer consistently at big tournaments, whether it was the sevens or OT7. Chase Calubat was that dude. And he did it at corner. He wasn't even playing safety. He was playing corner, and he was extremely impressive in both settings. He was also a guy that did play some safety too. And, watching him practice, I also got a chance to see him play more of that natural safety position. And so I think he can make an immediate impact on the back end at safety, but he also gives you the flexibility of having a taller, longer corner as well. So I think there's just a lot to like about Chase Calubat. Right now, it's clear where his recruitment stands. Michigan and Texas are at the top. Texas doing everything they can to keep him home. Michigan doing everything they can to lure him to Big Ten country. They went into the Houston area, landed Andrew Marsh last cycle. Calubat has developed a really good friendship with Marsh. I think that'll help the Wolverines. I think it'll help, give Calubat a little bit more leeway to say, hey, I can leave home. I have a guy who did it last cycle, who I've grown close with. I think Andrew Marsh's mother, Eleanor, will play a big role here as well. She's one of the team moms for the freshman class, and she was a very vocal recruiter last cycle. I'm sure she'll be very involved with the Calubat family. So I think Michigan can beat out Texas, man. It's going to be close. It's going to come down for official visits. I like the fact that Michigan has the last OV. I could really see Michigan beating out the Longhorns and stealing Chase Calubat away from the Lone Star State. All right, let's talk about our last prospect, and that is another bigger safety recruit, and that's Jordan Deck out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, Jordan Deck, kind of a similar build as Calubat, but a little bit of a different skill set. Jordan Deck also listed 6'3", 180. I want to say he's heavier than that. And if he's not heavier than that, he carries the weight really well. He's not necessarily as athletic as Chase Calubat. Like, I couldn't see Jordan Deck playing corner, but I think he can be a guy who not only plays safety, but spins down into the box, plays some linebacker, really more of a hybrid physical striker type, as opposed to the athletic type that can also play some corner like Calubat is. I'd love to see Michigan take Calubat and Jordan Deck. Now, Deck's rankings are a little all over the place. He's ranked as a 4-star, just outside the top 300 on the industry ranking. I think Jordan Deck, probably a top 200 player for me, man. There's a lot to like about Jordan Deck. This was my second time seeing him live. Saw him at the Under Armour Dallas camp, and like I said, he's big, he's long, he's physical, he can play in the box, he can be that bigger safety. I think when you look at Jordan Deck, I think a better version of Makari Page is what I think when I think about Jordan Deck. So, again, I'd love to see Michigan land both Deck and Calubat. And right now, Deck told me, hey, Michigan's in my top 3. It's Michigan, Baylor, Penn State. Baylor, obviously, the in-state school. I'd give Michigan the edge over Penn State. This is a very winnable recruitment for the Wolverines. So Michigan doing some good work in the state of Texas. For more intel on all my travels, especially in the Lone Star State, you can head over to thewolverine.com. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop a new video, especially since we won't be starting the live shows back up until the first week of OVs. But keep it locked in here, and I will see you guys soon.